Bailey Ober, the latest victim on the mound. Twins get shelled by Seattle. Final score, 11-2. Losers of 10 of their last 11 now. Woof. Full deep dive coming up next. Minnesota Twins postcast.
This is the Twins postcast. Your instant game reaction for the Minnesota Twins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's going on? Back in the lab, back at it. Another Minnesota Twins postcast right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. Main man with me, CJ Baumgartner. Give him a follow on X at BombCJ30. Twins expert over at Zone Coverage MN. Let's start right here. You know, the minute Pablo went down, everybody knew it's going to be Bailey Ober and Joe Ryan. I mean, they're really going to have to carry the rotation. I felt like there was some confidence in that for sure. Ober gets work tonight, though. 7 hits, 7 earned runs, 3 home runs allowed. Is this a matter of talent at this point, or lack thereof, maybe I should say, or is this more about execution at this point? Like, can you still sit here confidently and say they've got the talent to go steal a wild card spot and still maybe steal a series or two, or has all of that pretty much gone out the window at this point?
It's looking worse and worse by the day, but I still think if we take that 50,000-foot view, the rest of the American League is not very good right now. It's not like Detroit's running away with the division, but those wild card spots are still wide open. And as far as, execution and all that stuff, I think when you look at Ober and Ryan and the body of work they've put up over their careers, I think it's a better bet than not that they're going to turn it around, at least in Ober's case, kind of get things back in the right direction. That's the optimistic 30,000-foot view, is like over a long season, he's going to work himself out. But man, he couldn't pick a worse time to be in his slump.
Yeah. Plenty deep dive today. Biggest turning point, where it all went wrong. Is there any hope on the horizon? Any at all? Bueller, any hope whatsoever for this team? But first, quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Game Time. Game Time, download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Quick little recap if you missed it. Twins Mariners, game 1 of a best-of-4 series at home in the backyard, Target Field. Again, Bailey Ober on the mound. And these are the guys really, again, you're trying to lean on right now with no Pablo. 3rd inning, absolute catastrophe. 2 home runs given up, a 2-run shot, and then a 3-run shot. It's 6-0 after 3. Twins got a pair of solo home runs. Correa and Larnach, they both go deep, but not even close. Not even close to enough offense once again. 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. That doesn't help. 7 left on base tonight. Bullpen gives up some more garbage time. Joey Wentz, the latest victim there. He gives up 4 runs in the final 3 innings. 11-2, though, that's your final. 37-41, 4 games below 500. Just when you look at tonight's matchup versus Seattle, biggest takeaways, kind of your 8 topics. What is sticking out the most, I guess, when it comes to their recent struggles?
Yeah, I mean, it really just has to be starting pitching, and we've talked about it over and over again, so I don't want to just continue to beat the same
dead
drum.
Horse, yeah.
But I mean, there's nothing else you can do. I mean, when you get down 6-0 in the 3rd inning, and the game's not uncomebackable, but man, it's really hard night in and night out to constantly feel like you have to do that. And look, you could put some blame on the offense, right? The Twins had an opportunity in the bottom of the 2nd inning to get a run on the board. Twins had runners on the corners with 1 out, and they didn't come through. And, maybe if the Twins get a couple runs, maybe things don't snowball as bad. Like, that's all true, but you just can't win night after night when your starters do not give you any position to win by the time they leave the game. It's short starts, or if they do get 5 or 6 innings, it's on the heels of 4, 5, 6, 7 runs. Like, you just can't win at all when your starting pitchers are giving you that night in and night out.
Breaking news just moments ago. Not only is manager Rocco Baldelli's job not in jeopardy, he also got a 2026 club option exercise, so he will be here all of next year as well, pending, again, some sort of catastrophe. I suppose they could fire him midseason, but that's according to Dan Hayes on X, at Dan Hayes MLB. Perfect segue. I wanted to ask you, blame chart. 5 categories: starting pitching, bullpen, the offense, the coach, Rocco, or the GM. Rank them right now. Again, losers of 10 of your last 11. You've lost 5 series in a row. Feels like you're on your way to 6 right now, but most to blame for you, top to bottom.
I mean, number one just has to be the starting pitching. Like this is a unit that has, by the way, has some track record. Chris Paddock has had some good stretches. Pablo Lopez obviously going down, but like outside of that, you thought Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, Chris Paddock, like those 3 can anchor it. And you can, Festa was going to be making kind of some strides. Evie Matthews making some strides. Simeon Woods Richardson had a nice year last year. And then you thought you had some help on the way. You thought this was going to be a deep unit that you could rely on. And all it took was, there's 2 injuries, but really the injury to Lopez really just has kind of sank this unit. That's got to be number one. And number 2, I think you really do have to put it at the person that assembled this all together in Derek Falvey. And again, you could say, does ownership get in some of this as well with, kind of hampering roster construction? That's all. Again, this is kind of how the roster is constructed. And then I'd kind of put it towards the hitting and then the bullpen and then management. And that's not necessarily because Rocco is scot-free. I'm not trying to say that he's undeserving of blame in all this, because everybody deserves blame. But it's just to say that, like, you can only polish this situation so much. You can really only pencil in who's in the lineup card. If it's night after night that your starters just aren't giving you what you need, I mean, there's really nothing there's nothing really a coach can do about that. And that's kind of more on, again, the players to execute. But then also, like, I view the GM as much more important to some of that than the manager, just because there's only so much a manager can do in Major League Baseball.
I suppose there's only so much a GM can do when you're given a limited wallet to spend every offseason as well. That's probably a conversation for another day. Where are you at with Rocco? Kind of big picture, right? 50,000 foot view. Been here a couple of years, obviously, a couple nice overachieving seasons. Personally feels like maybe he's kind of plateauing a little bit right now. I don't know. You tell me. But, at some point, why I ask, and it's a good segue, at some point, somebody's got to take the blame, whether it's right or wrong. A change will need to be made, I would have thought. Again, looks like Rocco's in the clear this year and hopefully next year as well. But just big picture, 5D view. Are you a big Rocco guy? And I guess kind of sell it for us, right? Like, for the fans that are saying, oh, Rocco should have been on the hot seat, what are they doing? Sell it for us. Why is Rocco a good fit here for at least another year?
Well, I think the biggest thing, and in terms of just my overall feelings on Rocco, he's fine. Like, I think he's got his flaws. I don't think he's this big albatross in the organization as some think he is, but he does have his limits, and there's only so much he can do and things of that nature. But overall, I think really, if you're going to get talked into Baldelli, what you say is he's been the manager here since 2019, which is already like 6-7 seasons of this ball club. They made the playoffs about half the time, and they've been able to put together some good teams in that run. I think he's a good manager in terms of being even keel and trying to get through the highs and lows of a season. He's a former player, so he's got a little bit of relatability in terms of that aspect. I think those are his positive traits. And I think overall, really, when you talk about somebody going down for the ship, I mean, the manager is always the first to go because the team already got rid of the hitting coaches last year. They fired the hitting coaches. So next would be the manager. But here's the thing. Here's why. And again, the Twins announced that they extended his club option. There's no clear, they didn't indicate when necessarily they did that. They could have done that back in the winter. They could have did it today. Like, there's no date on when they did that. This is just when they announced that Baldelli has his option for next year. And really, this is a vote of confidence of him throughout the season. It feels like they're going to stick it out with him. And again, that all could change. That could change on a dime if the Twins continue to sink for another week or two. But overall, and we talked about this before, this franchise just feels stuck. It feels like everybody's just kind of waiting on new ownership to take over before you get the green light. If you're the ownership group, you don't really want to green light a firing quite yet of a GM or of a team president or of a manager, because, there could be a new owner coming in a year who wants to fire everybody anyway. So do they want to be paying for people who aren't working there is kind of the other thing.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Good way to think about it. Plenty more deep dive. How to fix the Twin struggles right now. Find a little spark in this clubhouse. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sportsbook partner of the MLB. Right now, FanDuel is giving you a chance at a huge return, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you win your first $5 wager. I love FanDuel. When you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you go check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Again, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you win your first $5 bet. Go check it all out over at FanDuel.com. Getting some MLB future action while you're there. Twins sitting at plus 650 right now to win the AL Central. All sitting up over at FanDuel.com. Again, check it all out over at FanDuel.com and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sportsbook partner of the MLB. All right. Obviously, you need a spark right now in the worst way possible. Whether it's a trade, whether it's a prospect coming up the ranks, whether it's someone who's maybe hurt that's trying to, work their way back through rehab. Well, what is their easiest path back to just mediocre play again? I mean, the bar is so low. Just competitive play. All we're asking for night in and night out. You're the coach or the GM. What are you doing?
I don't know, man. There's really nothing much you can do. I mean, you can try and you could try and maybe make a symbolic cut or trade just to quote unquote send a message,
shake something up,
shake up the system. That's in play. If you're the Twins, again, injuries to your starting core, there's really nobody you can send down because even the minor league guys in AAA, who you have the Corey Lewis's and a few other guys that you have in your AAA rotation are a little banged up at the moment as well. So they're not necessarily ready for a call up in terms of that aspect either. Really, if you're trying to provide a spark, Byron Buxton's doing almost everything he can in terms of on the defensively and at the plate. You need a spark from your pitching staff. And again, I'm trying to be optimistic here. I just don't know where that's going to come from. And that's probably the worst thing. There just isn't a lot of help on the horizon. For better or worse, this Twins team is going to have to figure it out on their own.
Yeah, and there is some good stuff down in the farm system, right? But it just feels all more than at least 1 year away. Like Kalen Culpepper, I saw already worked his way up the AA ranks. He's ripping it up. Obviously not a guy you expect to see for at least another season or two, though. Who else? Emmanuel Rodriguez, anybody on the horizon
Walker
whatsoever.
Jenkins there as well.
Yeah, Walker Jenkins, but again, anybody in the short term that can provide a spark. What happened to Austin Martin? Is he still hurt? I liked him.
Yeah, still kind of
what's going on with the prospects, I guess? Yeah, if any are in play realistically this year.
Not a ton are in play right now. I mean, you could look at in terms of, is Ed Julian, who's been starting to rip things up a little bit more in AAA. Okay. Does he maybe warrant kind of a second look just to, again, shake things up? Jose Miranda really hasn't been hitting the ball well in AAA. It's kind of been a really rough year for him as well. So maybe it's kind of given those guys a second look and saying like, hey, for better or worse, we're calling you guys up just to try and, again, shake things up. But see what's going on with the infield, but also Brooks Lee's playing really well. Carlos Correa's right there. And you have Willie Castro, Cody Klein. Like there's just, it just feels like the puzzle pieces just aren't matching together right now with what they need.
Yeah, well said for sure. Don't go anywhere. Preview game 2 tomorrow. Chris Paddock on the mound. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 10 million members to date. And for me and my money, it's just by far the easiest, most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports and you watch your favorite players. So simple, too. All you got to do, you pick more or less on 2 or more players' stats. You watch the winnings roll in, strikeouts, RBIs, home runs, stolen bases, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less. Add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Download the Prize Picks app. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly with any $5 wager. Game 2 tomorrow, first pitch, another 6:40 start. Chris Paddock back on the mound. How do you stop the bleeding here, CJ? Like if you're Rocco, I know I'm just basically asking the same question a variety of different ways, but if you're Rocco, how do you switch things up and try to get a spark in this clubhouse right now? Like, what's the message even when you're in just a total spiral like the one we're witnessing?
Yeah, I mean, the message, it could be, again, you have the closed doors meeting, you close the doors, you yell at everybody, you have the come to Jesus moment. That certainly is on the table. And maybe the Twins do that. I think, again, it's really going to come down to a couple things. Can the Twins get runs early outside of a Byron Buxton solo home run? Can the Twins kind of create their own luck? And maybe that's something of, you play a little bit of small ball, you do a little things, not necessarily because you need to scrape across the one run, but maybe just because you're hoping just to create a little bit of a spark with your team, to create just to test the defense. Maybe you can kind of get that barrel rolling, or just as well to kind of just, again, try and shake things up. But really it just has to come from a starting pitcher. It has to come from a guy who you need to rely on to pitch for half or even 2/3 of the ball game. And that's just something the Twins haven't been able to rely on for the last few weeks. It starts with Chris Paddock. It starts with scoring a crooked number early. And I feel like every single time you ask me this question, I'm saying the same thing, but the Twins haven't done it yet. So until they do it, I'm going to keep saying it. They need a quality start out of their starting pitcher, and the Twins need to hang 2 or more runs up in an inning in the first 3 innings and hopefully do it multiple times.
That's it. It's simple, dude. It's a simple game.
Score more runs than the other team. Why don't they
be better,
man?
You know? Just be better. Simple game. Twins in a total free fall right now. They are spiraling, losers of 10 of their last 11. 11-2 your final tonight. 37-41 now. 4 games below 500. Huge shout out to all you guys, though. All the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. Appreciate you guys, all you guys coming in the chat with us too from game to game. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check out all CJ's work on X at BombCJ30+. He's always putting up great work over at ZoneCoverageMN.com as well. Luke Inman on X at Luke_Spinman. Again, game 2 tomorrow. Another 6:40 first pitch. Chris Paddock back on the mound. Catch you right here. Same time, same place. Until then, signing out.